the complete guide to U.S. presidents, and welcome to our comprehensive journey through American presidential history. Today we'll explore all of the U.S. presidents in chronological order, examining their time in office, how many terms they served, and what each is most remembered for. We'll also take a special look at the 22nd Amendment and how Franklin D. Roosevelt became the only president to serve more than 2 terms. So let's dive into this fascinating chapter of American history, the founding era. George Washington, 1789 to 1797, served 2 terms as our first president. He's remembered for establishing the precedent of a peaceful transfer of power and warning against partisan divisions in his farewell address. John Adams, 1797 to 1801, served 1 term. He's remembered for maintaining peace with France during the Quasi-War, despite intense pressure for full-scale conflict. Thomas Jefferson, 1801 to 1809, served 2 terms. He's best remembered for the Louisiana Purchase, which doubled the size of the United States. James Madison, 1809 to 1817, served 2 terms. He's remembered for leading the country through the War of 1812 against Great Britain. James Monroe, 1817 to 1825, served 2 terms. He's remembered for the Monroe Doctrine, which opposed European colonization in the Americas. The Jacksonian era, John Quincy Adams, 1825 to 1829, served 1 term. He's remembered for his extensive diplomatic experience and promoting internal improvements like roads and canals. Andrew Jackson, 1829 to 1837, served 2 terms. He's remembered for expanding executive power and his controversial Indian removal policies. Martin Van Buren, 1837 to 1841, served 1 term. He's remembered for navigating the Panic of 1837, one of America's worst economic depressions. William Henry Harrison, 1841, served just 1 month before his death, the shortest presidency in U.S. history. He's remembered for giving the longest inaugural address, ironically followed by the shortest presidency. John Tyler, 1841 to 1845, served 1 term after succeeding Harrison. He's remembered for establishing the precedent that the vice president fully assumes the presidency upon the president's death. Pre-Civil War, James K. Polk, 1845 to 1849, served 1 term. He's remembered for the significant territorial expansion under the Mexican-American War and Oregon Treaty. Zachary Taylor, 1849 to 1850, served just 16 months before dying in office. He's remembered as a military hero from the Mexican-American War who took a moderate stance on slavery expansion. Millard Fillmore, 1850 to 1853, served 1 partial term after Taylor's death. He's remembered for signing the controversial Compromise of 1850, which included the Fugitive Slave Act. Franklin Pierce, 1853 to 1857, served 1 term. He's remembered for the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which increased sectional tensions over slavery. James Buchanan, 1857 to 1861, served 1 term. He's often remembered as one of the worst presidents for his inaction as the nation slid towards civil war. Civil War and Reconstruction. Abraham Lincoln, 1861 to 1865, served 1 full term and was assassinated at the beginning of his 2nd. He's remembered for preserving the Union through the Civil War and issuing the Emancipation Proclamation. Andrew Johnson, 1865 to 1869, served 1 partial term after Lincoln's assassination. He's remembered for being impeached after conflicts with Congress over Reconstruction policies. Ulysses S. Grant, 1869 to 1877, served 2 terms. He's remembered for his military leadership during the Civil War and efforts to protect the civil rights of formerly enslaved people. The Gilded Age. Rutherford B. Hayes, 1877 to 1881, served one term. He's remembered for ending Reconstruction and the disputed election of 1876, which was resolved by the Compromise of 1877. James A. Garfield, 1881, served only 6 months before being assassinated. He's remembered for his advocacy of civil service reform. Chester A. Arthur, 1881 to 1885, served one partial term after Garfield's assassination. He's remembered for championing civil service reform despite his prior reputation as a spoilsman. Grover Cleveland, 1885 to 1889, served as the 22nd president for one term. He's remembered for his honesty, independence, and opposition to political corruption. Benjamin Harrison, 1889 to 1893, served one term. He's remembered for expanding the Navy and advancing the Sherman Antitrust Act. Grover Cleveland, 1893 to 1897, returned as the 24th president for a second non-consecutive term. He's remembered as the only president to serve non-consecutive terms and for dealing with the Panic of 1893. Progressive era William McKinley, 1897 to 1901, served one full term and was assassinated during his second. He's remembered for leading America through the Spanish-American War and expanding U.S. territorial influence. Theodore Roosevelt, 1901 to 1909, served nearly 2 terms after McKinley's assassination. He's remembered for his trust-busting efforts, conservation initiatives, and his energetic bull moose personality. William Howard Taft, 1909 to 1913, served one term. He's remembered for his antitrust policies and later becoming Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Woodrow Wilson, 1913 to 1921, served 2 terms. He's remembered for leading America through World War I and advocating for the League of Nations. The Roaring Twenties to Great Depression, Warren G. Harding, 1921 to 1923, served about 2.5 years before dying in office. He's remembered for the Teapot Dome scandal, one of the most significant corruption scandals in American history. Calvin Coolidge, 1923 to 1929, served one partial and one full term after Harding's death. He's remembered for his small government philosophy during the prosperous Roaring Twenties. Herbert Hoover, 1929 to 1933, served one term. He's remembered for his unfortunate timing as president during the onset of the Great Depression. The Roosevelt Revolution in World War II, Franklin D. Roosevelt, 1933 to 1945, served an unprecedented 4 terms. He's remembered for the New Deal programs that addressed the Great Depression and for leading America through most of World War II. Franklin Roosevelt's 4 consecutive terms represented a significant departure from the 2-term tradition established by George Washington. His extended presidency came during extraordinary national crises, first the Great Depression and then World War II. Many Americans felt that changing leadership during these critical periods would be detrimental to national stability and security. FDR's unprecedented tenure prompted the introduction of the 22nd Amendment in 1947, which was ratified in 1951. The 22nd Amendment formally limits presidents to 2 elected terms in office. It states, "No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of president more than once." This amendment was primarily driven by Republican concerns about concentrated presidential power after Roosevelt's long tenure, though it has since affected presidents of both parties. Cold War era. Harry S. Truman, 1945 to 1953, served one partial term after Roosevelt's death. and 1 full term. He's remembered for making the decision to drop atomic bombs on Japan to end World War II and for the Truman Doctrine opposing Soviet expansion. Dwight D. Eisenhower, 1953 to 1961, served 2 terms. He's remembered for expanding the interstate highway system and warning against the military-industrial complex. John F. Kennedy, 1961 to 1963, served nearly 3 years before his assassination. He's remembered for his handling of the Cuban Missile Crisis and inspiring the American space program. Lyndon B. Johnson, 1963 to 1969, served 1 partial term after Kennedy's assassination and 1 full term. He's remembered for his Great Society social programs and the escalation of the Vietnam War. Richard Nixon, 1969 to 1974, served 1 full term and resigned during his second. He's remembered for opening relations with China and resigning due to the Watergate scandal. Gerald Ford, 1974 to 1977, served 1 partial term after Nixon's resignation. He's remembered for pardoning Nixon and helping to heal the nation after Watergate. Jimmy Carter, 1977 to 1981, served 1 term. He's remembered for the Camp David Accords between Israel and Egypt and the Iran hostage crisis. Modern-era Ronald Reagan, 1981 to 1989, served 2 terms. He's remembered for his economic policies dubbed Reaganomics and his role in the ending of the Cold War. George H.W. Bush, 1989 to 1993, served 1 term. He's remembered for leading the international coalition during the Gulf War and for his 1,000 Points of Light volunteerism initiative. Bill Clinton, 1993 to 2001, served 2 terms. He's remembered for presiding over economic prosperity and being impeached but not removed from office. George W. Bush, 2001 to 2009, served 2 terms. He's remembered for his response to the September 11th terrorist attacks and the subsequent war on terror. Barack Obama, 2009 to 2017, served 2 terms. He's remembered as the first African-American president and for the Affordable Care Act. Donald Trump, 2017 to 2021, served 1 term. He's remembered for his unconventional approach to politics and his America First foreign policy. Joe Biden, 2021 to 2025, served 1 term. He's remembered for his COVID-19 pandemic response and economic recovery efforts. Donald Trump, 2025 to present, began his second non-consecutive term as the 47th President of the United States on January 20th, 2025. Conclusion. As we look back at these leaders who have shaped our nation's history, it's fascinating to consider how each president's legacy is often defined by just a few key actions or circumstances. The 22nd Amendment ensures that no future president will serve more than 2 terms as Roosevelt did, maintaining the balance of power our founders envisioned. What do you think the 47th president will be remembered for? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this presidential journey through American history, please like this video, share it with friends who love history, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to be notified when we upload our next exploration. As ever, until next time, stay curious.